Different kinds of programs have been implemented, and we can categorize them into two groups: prevention and reactive programs. Prevention programs identify at-risk youth before the problems occur, and reactive programs respond by addressing the issues that need to be eliminated. Prevention programs that appear to actually reduce the likelihood of future delinquency include the mentoring programs previously discussed earlier this semester. Bullying prevention programs are also very popular and appear to be effective. These programs include on-site empathy building, problem solving, and awareness. There are also many different awareness programs that are web-based, with a great deal of information available to the public. School-based violence prevention programs are also offered on-site in many schools. These focus on relationships and problem-solving strategies for conflict. The reactive models include strategies such as placing school resource officers in the schools, removing students and placing them in alternative schools, or filing petitions in juvenile court. School resource officers, often referred to as SROs, are sworn law enforcement officers who are responsible for providing security and crime prevention services in schools. SROs are typically employed by a local police or sheriff's agency and work closely with administrators in an effort to create a safer environment for both students and staff. The responsibilities of SROs are similar to regular police officers in that they have the ability to make arrests, respond to calls for service, and document incidents that occur within their jurisdiction. School resource officers typically have additional duties to include mentoring and conducting presentations on youth-related issues. In many schools, there is a reduction in behavior problems when SROs are employed. This is often due to the problem youth being prosecuted because rather than having a trip to the principal's office and getting suspended for a few days, they instead have a police officer filing a petition in juvenile court. Alternative schools also are a strategy of how to deal with students when the schools cannot control them and they disrupt the order within the school classroom. Rather than a long-term suspension or expulsion, the student is sent to an alternative school. Sometimes the court orders this, and sometimes the schools refer the youth to the alternative school. Not all school districts offer alternative schools. Smaller school districts may not have enough disruptive students nor the budget to offer these services. Also, in many areas, a youth that has been in the juvenile justice system may be required to attend an alternative school when that child returns to the community. Finally, rather than having the schools deal with the problem behavior, a petition in juvenile court might be filed. This often has the outcome of commitment of the youth, which would remove the child from the school setting. Filing a petition may be an end run around the school having to do an expulsion or a suspension hearing. So a few points that I want to make in summary are that despite decreases in student delinquency, student drug use, violent school victimization, and school-related deaths, formal social control has intensified in public schools during the past 2 decades. Intervention strategies have increased and improved in the past 2 decades as more models are developing and researchers are identifying which of these models are proven programs in reducing delinquency. Another point is that the crime model is a guiding principle in most urban public schools. Students that are rule breakers and troublemakers are often defined with criminal justice language, using the terms suspect or repeat offenders, or investigation or interrogation are used, and that security will call for backup assistance. And in some schools, the in-school suspension sometimes mirrors isolation rooms in the prisons. Finally, I also want to call attention to the fact that we also know that African American students, particularly males, are disciplined much more often and more severely than others for similar behaviors. This practice has symmetry with what we already discussed earlier this semester with disproportionate minority confinement.